Hello, Valerie from BabywiseMom.com talking with you today all about the basics of a night's sleep. We're going to talk about why your baby may not be sleeping through the night and how to get your baby to do so. But first, before we go any further, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, a little bit about me. I am the mother to 4 children. I run a blog at BabywiseMom.com. My children range from age 8 to 15 currently, and I have been helping parents solve their sleep issues and parenting issues since the year 2007. So I really love helping parents love parenting. Before we get started, it's very important to remember that your nights will follow your days. So if you get your day down, then nights typically follow. If you're trying to solve nighttime sleep issues, but your daytime is all over the place and sporadic and baby won't nap, you're probably not going to be able to really fix those night sleep issues. It's easiest to focus on day first. For one really good reason is that you as the parent, the person who is trying to problem solve and figure things out, you're a lot more cognizant during the day. At nighttime, you can be super tired, you don't know what happened, you don't know what's happening. We don't always make the smartest decisions or remember things the best when we're in the nighttime. So you can really solve things and get things down during the day. Plus, babies typically need like some good routine and naps to get night sleep to really happen. So make sure you focus on your daytime in addition to trying to solve your night. You can work on both at the same time, but if you are not focusing on day, you're probably not going to have great success with your night. With that in mind, I do have a video on short naps, so be sure to click and watch that. I do also have a playlist of baby summaries. So if you don't know what your baby should be doing at your baby's exact age, see my baby summary playlist to know what happens during each month of baby's first year of life. If you need even more help, I do have an ebook on how to fix those short naps. So if you need even more in-depth help, be sure to check out my ebook. We're all on the same page about how important daytime is. Now it is time to talk about the nighttime. It's very important when you're trying to fix night issues or any sleep issues is to identify why sleep isn't going well. If you come to me and say, hey, my baby is not sleeping through the night, what should I do? I'm going to have a lot of questions for you before I can answer that, because the reason your baby is waking up at night needs to be addressed before your baby will stop waking up at night. You must fix the reason baby is waking if you're going to stop that waking from happening. So let's talk about a lot of different reasons that babies typically wake up in the night. One common reason babies wake up at night is because they're hungry. And this is very age appropriate for a long time. Babies need to eat during the night for many weeks, at the very least. And some babies will need to for a few months. If your baby is waking because of hunger, there are some things you can try to help baby either wake up less often in the night or to stop waking up at night altogether. One thing you can try is to add a feeding during the day. So if your baby needs 7 feedings in a 24-hour period, if you can get all 7 of those in the daytime, then there won't need to be one at nighttime. This is, of course, assuming your baby is old enough to sleep through the night. One really effective daytime feeding is what I call a dream feed. I have a video on dream feed. I have a blog post on dream feed, so you can check those out for more on the dream feed. But the basic of a dream feed is that it is a feeding that happens in the 10 to 11 p.m. hour. So your baby was put to bed around 7 to 8 p.m., and then you get baby up. You try to keep baby as sleepy as possible, only awake enough to eat. And I have a lot more information on dream feed in my video and blog post. Another great strategy to add a feeding is to do cluster feeding. And cluster feeding is when you feed every 2 hours in the evening. So maybe you fed at 4 p.m. and then you feed again at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. And you may include a dream feed at 10 p.m. or you could do 10:30. And of course, be aware of growth spurts that can wake your baby up from hunger. If your baby doesn't get enough food in the day during a growth spurt, even a baby who was sleeping through the night will wake up at night to get that feeding. I do have a video on growth spurts and I have a blog post on growth spurts. The next reason that baby might be waking in the night is from pain. Your baby could have gas pain, your baby could have reflux pain, your baby could even have pain from something like the pajamas are too small. So if you ever tried to sleep with something squishing your toes, if your baby's wearing footed pajamas and they're a little too short for baby's feet, then your baby could wake up because that doesn't feel good. Another common reason for waking in the night, especially in your early newborn weeks, is day and night confusion. Some babies, it's very common for babies to be awake, more alert in the night, and be super sleepy all day. So I do have a blog post on that, but some basics on how to help that are to make sure you work on having wake time during the day so that baby learns that this is when we're awake and the night is when we sleep. And then at night, you make sure that you don't make it a social hour. You make it very clear that at night we eat and we're right back down to sleep. We're not playing at nighttime. Part of this day-night confusion is simply just baby outgrowing it and getting older. Your baby could be waking in the night simply out of a habit. This happens more when baby is a little older, has had time to get into a habit. Your newborn 3-week-old baby isn't going to be waking up out of habit, but your 3-month-old baby might be. One way to know it's a habit is if your baby is waking up at basically the exact same time every night. If your baby wakes up at 2 a.m. one night, but 4 a.m. the next night, it's not a habit. That is probably more of a need. But if your baby is waking up at 2:13 a.m. every single night, then there's an excellent chance it is a habit. One really easy trick to get rid of this is from the Baby Whisperer, and it's called Wake to Sleep. So if your baby was waking at 2:13 a.m. every night, you would go into baby's room at 2:10 a.m. or maybe a little earlier, 2:08, and you would just kind of gently rustle baby until baby started to squirm and wake up, but don't fully wake up baby, just enough that baby kind of moves around, and then you let baby fall back asleep, you go back to sleep, and that helps break that cycle. Another reason your baby might be waking at night is because the diaper's too wet. Sometimes you can't help that. If baby needs a diaper changed, baby needs a diaper changed. But one thing you can try is to have a diaper sized up. So if your baby's in a size 2 diaper, then at nighttime, you go with a size 3 diaper. You can also try overnight diapers. They tend to hold more. I do have a blog post completely dedicated to how to diaper your baby at night to get the best sleep possible. Something else to look at when your baby is not sleeping through the night is overall sleep needs. If your baby was sleeping through the night and isn't anymore, it's possible that you have too much daytime sleep, which would mean you either need to shorten a nap or drop a nap. It is also possible that baby might be not sleeping through the night because there's not enough daytime sleep. So you may need to extend nap time and work on those naps more. Again, like I said at the beginning, get your day down, the night will follow. Another common reason is that bedtime is off. So your bedtime might be too early, it might be a little too late. Typically speaking, it's good to have bedtime around 12 hours before that first feeding of the day. So if you wake baby up at 7 a.m., it's good to have bedtime around 7 p.m. But you may have a feeding at 7 p.m. and then bedtime happens around 7:30 p.m. Also, a good general time of day for bedtime is the 7 p.m. hour, so anywhere from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. There are, of course, exceptions. You may have reasons baby needs to go to bed later. There may be reasons baby needs to go to bed earlier, especially if baby gets up earlier in the morning. Another reason you may find for waking up at night is the dream feed is off, or maybe you need to drop the dream feed. If your baby was sleeping through the night, starts waking, sometimes the dream feed gets to a point where it actually interferes with sleep. It helped in the beginning, it gets to a point where it stops helping. So you may consider dropping the dream feed or changing the timing. Some babies are super sensitive to that exact timing. 10:30 might mean baby wakes up at night. 10:35 might mean baby sleeps through the night. Another reason for waking at night is just a quirk. Some babies will wake up and talk to themselves and just kind of play around for a little while and then go back to sleep. So if your baby's waking up and happily babbling and then going back to sleep after 20, 30 minutes, then it's probably just this quirk that baby will outgrow. It's just a stage. It's pretty common. It's hard because you get woken up and you're wondering, do I go into my baby? Do I let my baby stay? If your baby isn't crying and is just happily in bed, then just let it happen. This won't last forever. It's also really wise as you're considering, why isn't my baby sleeping through the night, to consider what your expectations are and your definition of sleeping through the night. For example, my daughter Caitlin at one point started waking up at 5 a.m., which to me was nighttime. That was still night for me. Why is my baby waking in the night? But at 5 a.m., she had been sleeping for 9 hours already. So, and she was young enough, like she needed a feeding at 5 a.m. She was hungry. It had been a long time since she's eaten. So you may be looking at this as this is nighttime, but it may be that your baby has slept for a significant portion of time already. And when you look at that, it's okay, she's waking up at 5, but it's been 9 hours since she ate. I'll feed her, put her back down. I'll get her back up at 7:30 at our desired wake time. If you have this waking in the 5 to 6 a.m. hour, I do have a really helpful blog post to help walk you through what to do, when to do something, when to let it go, and how to solve it if it needs solving. The next thing to consider is the environmental factors. Think about room temperature. Is the room too hot for your baby? Is the room too cold for your baby? How is your baby dressed? Is your baby dressed appropriately for the room temperature? Is your baby waking because she's cold? Is she waking because she's too hot? There are other nuances to how baby is dressed also. For example, Caitlin absolutely hated to wear socks when she slept. If she was wearing socks, she would wake up. McKenna absolutely hated to not wear socks when she slept. If she was not wearing socks, she would wake up. So you have to figure these little details out about your individual baby. And another environmental factor that often wakes babies up is noise. So is your neighbor hauling out the garbage can at 11 p.m. or 5 a.m. and that's waking up your baby? Is there a dog barking? Is there a truck driving by? There are lots of noises that could be within your own home even. So if noise is waking your baby up, one of the best ways to help that is a sound machine. And the last environmental factor to think about is the sun. So if your baby is waking up when the sun is rising in the morning, then you may need to get some blackout curtains or some darker blinds, something to help block that sun out. Okay, let's say your baby typically is sleeping through the night, but sporadically does not. Then what do you do? One thing to note is that the first night your baby sleeps through the night, that's super exciting, but most babies will not then sleep through the night forever. Most babies will have nights that they wake up for whatever reason. It's also very common when your baby first starts sleeping through the night to sleep through the night one night and then wake up 2 nights. Sleep through the night one night, wake up a couple nights. Sleep through the night 2 nights, wake up 1 night. It's kind of this roller coaster. So some babies do sleep through the night and they never look back. That happens, but most seem to have this back and forth at first. One reason your baby might be waking in the night sporadically is if there were disruptions to the daytime schedule that day. So if your baby missed a nap, or it was super overstimulating day, or maybe your baby was distracted when you were out and about while she was eating, so now she's hungry tonight because she didn't eat well during the day. So if you had a disruptive day, it's very possible your baby will wake in the night. Another common reason is Wonder Weeks. And I do have a blog post and a video on the Wonder Weeks, so you can watch that, read that to get more information. But Wonder Weeks are regular periods of time when babies are going through some major development, learning new skills, and it often interrupts sleep. Along those same lines, there can be sleep regressions that wake baby up. Another possible reason is sleep props that have been used. Sometimes sleep props start out being totally fine and no problem, and then as your baby gets older, they become a problem. I do see this very often with pacifiers right around 3 months old. People start up with pacifiers, no problem. For whatever reason, around 3 months old, the pacifier becomes an issue and they have to drop the pacifier, or just stick out that issue until baby's old enough to find the pacifier and put it back in himself. We've talked about a lot of reasons babies can wake at night, so now let's talk about solving those reasons. And we touched on solving with each issue as we went, but let's review. First, you need to figure out what that one reason is your baby is waking. Sometimes you're not sure. Sometimes you're going to make a list. I think it could be one of these 3 things. Then you pick one of those 3 things and you address it. So if you think, I think it might be that she's too hot, then you dress her in pajamas for the night that will make it so she's not as hot and see what happens. And if that doesn't work, you continue on to the next possible reason. Also, once again, make sure your daytime is solid. Make sure your naps, your routine, your schedule is consistent, and your night will follow. If your baby is waking at night to eat and is used to eating but isn't necessarily hungry, something you can do to help that is to slowly decrease the amount of food your baby is eating. So this can be another way to stop the habitual waking. If your baby wakes and if you're breastfeeding, you just slowly decrease the amount of time your baby breastfeeds at that feeding. If you're bottle feeding, you slowly decrease the number of ounces you put into the bottle. Both of those ways, you're decreasing the number of ounces baby is taking in. Another important step when you're solving this night sleep is to make sure your baby is able to self-soothe. We have sleep transitions that happen consistently throughout the night. And in a sleep transition, you move from one type of sleep to the other. And at that point, you can very easily be awoken. So if your baby isn't capable of putting himself to sleep independently, then he'll probably wake up often. So you really want to focus on sleep training and making sure your baby can sleep independently. My favorite way to sleep train is called the 4 S's. I have a video on it and I have a blog post on it. That wraps up our discussion on our night sleep basics. These things can help you get baby sleeping through the night. If you need more details on any of these things, be sure to either scroll down if you're on the blog. If you're not, click on over and read my nighttime troubleshooting blog post to help you get through all of your night troubles. Thanks for watching.